Back. Now it's that all-important day for the people of Ayawaso, West Wuogon. They're going to choose who becomes their member of parliament since the loss of Mr. Chermatin Ejakon, Emmanuel Chermatin Ejakon, who was buried just last weekend. 4 people are vying for this slot. For the NPP, it's Lydia Al-Hassan. For the NDC, it's Delali Brimpong. The PPP is putting forward William Dowokpo, and the LPG has Clement Bwedi fronting them in the constituency. Today we're live on the grounds from the moment the first ballot is cast until the final results are announced. So stay with us, and we are actually able to go across now to my colleague Parker Wilson, who is somewhere in the constituency. Parker, good morning. Tell us what you're seeing in Jowolu this morning.
I've lived here for 40 years.
Right, Kojo, good morning to you and good morning to our viewers. And as you mentioned, I am in Jowolu, King of Kings International. Just behind me is the polling center. And indeed, voting began at 7 a.m. exactly, just as the Electoral Commission promised. In fact, at the time, about 5 voters were already in the queue, getting ready to go through the process. And as you mentioned, 4 candidates are in this race to succeed the late member of parliament for this constituency. That is Emmanuel Chermatin Ejakon. We have a rep from the NPP, LPG, NDC, and the PPP. Now, I have this man with me. He just went through the process and want to share a few things with me, how the process went, and of course, what influences voting process. Sir, thank you very much for your time. Now, I saw you go through the process. How would you describe it? Was it stressful? Was it okay?
No, this is one of the first, maybe the first time I've ever had to go through it so easily. Yes, in recent years, because of my age, I'm given preferential treatment. It's traditional respect. Right. Yes, but today was the easiest. Yes.
You spent about how many minutes?
Well, maybe about 5.
About 5 minutes.
Or less.
I see. That's fine.
Yes.
Now, let me find out from you. I mean, you went to vote, clearly. What influenced the voting party?
I've lived in this community so many years. Okay. We've been denied development by respective governments. Okay. Right. Here is known as, excuse me say, a certain party stronghold.
Yeah, which party is that?
I won't tell you. You'll find out. Right. And well, it might be wrong for me to say, thank God this by-election, but we've seen some changes.
I see.
Yeah, we've seen some changes, and it goes against the grain in the sense that we've had a president, we've had a vice president who became a president, so Joel is proud to have 2 presidents in the persons of John Ajay Kufuor and John Dramani Mahama. We've had 2 Johns, right? But it's taken a different person to take it to another level. So, well, it's forever.
And would you say you're happy for this by-election because you've seen a facelift within the constituency?
It might be wrong for me to say that, but yes.
And you wish that you get more by-elections in the coming years?
I wouldn't wish that. That's why I said it might be wrong for me to say yes. But I wouldn't wish, because I wouldn't wish someone's death to be my benefit.
But by-election does not only occur, when we lose an MP, when they resign.
Therefore, mostly negative reasons.
Okay.
Right. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. Right. I wouldn't want to benefit from anybody's loss. Okay. Yes. Right.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So yes, and there's another man here, briefly, sir. Thank you. You went through the process. Please look to the camera for me. And how many minutes did you also spend? About 5 minutes?
Oh, just 4 minutes. Just about 4 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So how was the process for you?
Oh, it's very nice because I didn't see anything like problem or something like different thing like I didn't see anything about that.
Now let me find out. Do you work?
Yes.
And what am I supposed to get to work?
Oh, my work?
Yeah. What am I expected to be at work?
Oh, sometimes like what?
Like what time are you going to work? What time will you go to work?
Sometimes 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 6 o'clock. But today I stopped work. I now go work today.
Is it because of the by-election?
Yes, yes.
Why?
Oh, no problem. 'Cause I have boys to work, so they are working. My boys, they are working.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. So, Kojo, I mean, speaking to the two constituents within Ayawaso West Wuogon, clearly there's this perception that they want to cast their ballot to elect a new member of parliament for this constituency. And so we'll be monitoring development within the constituency. We'll be here the whole day to find out what is happening. And let me say that the Electoral Commission is very upbeat about the success of this by-election. In their view, they have provided all the necessary electoral materials to ensure that they get the best of results as far as this by-election is concerned. So we'll be monitoring the process and bring to our viewers development we encounter or development we meet. But let me say that again, we have officials of the Ghana Immigration Service and also police personnel present. They are ensuring maximum security, and I can see party reps as well present. So from the NPP, NDC, PPP, and LPG, all present here monitoring the process. So this is what I can report from the King of Kings International School here at Jolu.
That's wonderful, and of course we'll be staying with you and coming back to you every time we get the opportunity so that we don't miss a moment of this all-important day. Parker Wilson there, standing by in Jolu with the absolute latest in this election. Of course, it's significant, it's key. Some see it as a referendum of the government. The government prefers not to look at it that way, but they are definitely putting all their effort into winning, and so are the other three contenders. So we'll stay with that and bring you all of the details as they unfold. Welcome back. Of course, we're following the big day in Ayawaso West Wuogon, and Roland is in there somewhere, isn't he?
Roland is joining us from Baulish via phone. Roland Walker, good morning to you. Tell us what's happening. Are people voting?
The two of you, Mama V and Kojo.
So what's happening? Are people voting?
Yes, people are voting. I've been to a number of the polling stations already. The ANC shopping mall polling station, a couple of the polling stations within the Bauleshi area. And already it looks like voting started in earnest in the early hours of the wee morning. We already have a number of the voters coming in to vote, especially at the La Bauleshi Presby Junior High Schools, and we've had at least some visits to about 4 of the polling stations in those areas. And notably, you could find that the average voter turnout is just around 10. For example, at 1A polling station in La Bauleshi, the total voter population is 689, and as of now, we've had only about 6 of them turning up to vote. At 1B, 670 have registered to vote, but we've had only 6 votes so far. At 2A, we have 736 who are on the electoral register, and only 12 are so far turned out to vote. You should know that we're about 15 minutes to hit the hour of 8, and it means that almost close to 2 hours of voting. We only have the averages being between 8 and 10. Some have 6 averagely, some have 12, some have 8. And that's the current situation there. When I was coming, I was trying to monitor the early traffic congestion in relation to what the situation usually is with the area, Shashi, East Legon. And it looks like people are just going about their normal business, going to work. And so far, that's what we've seen.
People walking around, though, who simply don't care voting?
Well, it looks like for those who are in the area who perhaps I should make that conclusion are usually white-collar workers, so to speak. They think that going about their normal business is the usual thing to do. And so we have it that way. They're going into the main city center of Accra to go to work. And based on my conclusion, I don't think maybe they are bothered in any way in voting this morning. Maybe they want to come back in the afternoon or later in the day or before the close of polls to vote. And that's the situation. I can also tell you that I have pictures and videos of, I should say, national security operatives who are well cladded in what usually you see with armored cars, armored vehicles, who have hooded masks, etc., who are part of the security entourage in the area. It's quite amazing how you get to find some of those incidents the first time in terms of the security that has been beefed up for this by-election. It's the first time I've seen hooded mask security detail from the National Security Coordinator's office and also in police vans and SWAT teams, as you find it elsewhere. It looks like, well, perhaps they don't want to have any fomented trouble so far.
Yeah. Roland, the NDC before today raised some issues with the register and even suggested that the register could be bloated. They've said that they're going to put their people on the ground to monitor the elections carefully. Do you see men, particularly from the political parties, there to monitor at all the polling stations that you visited?
Yes, I have seen the representatives of the political parties that are contesting this election. And so you have notably the NDC and the MPP, you have the PP representatives, and in some of the areas, at least apart from the MPP and NDC, you would not see the rest of their polling station representatives. But it looks like all of them are well represented averagely, you can say. I spoke to a number of NDC officials. I saw Anthony Nupenu, and he said they were just monitoring who is the secretary of the NDC for Greater Accra region formerly and now gone to operations. And he said that so far, according to his monitoring efforts and the team that he's coordinating on the ground, it looks like all is in place. They're just watching out because they don't want to see any trouble, which they had earlier anticipated. They had drawn the attention of the Electoral Commission, which the Electoral Commission says could be false. And so they're on the ground doing the monitoring. The media is also present. The security that has been augmented here includes personnel from the Ghana Immigration Service. We also have other personnel of the other security services in other polling stations in the constituency monitoring the election.
Okay. Roland, we're going to leave you to keep monitoring the situation and be looking out for things that would happen. We're going to touch base with Roland Walker a bit later on as we continue to give you updates of the ongoing by-election in Ayawaso, West Wuogon. We also have Kwesi Parker Wilson also covering this by-election for us. We'll have a conversation with a political scientist later this morning as well on the subjects. All right, so stay with us. We'll bring you Matilda Bemage's interaction with some constituents of Ayawaso, West Wuogon.
The Electoral Commission has set 31st January for the by-election of the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. We know that this constituency has been without an MP following the demise of Emmanuel Chairmantin Ejakun. In the coming days, there will be a by-election. It appears to be a keen contest between NPP's Lydia Al-Hassan and NDC's Delali Kwesi Brempong. We also have the PPP's William Duokbo. We have the LPG's Clement Boedi. What are their chances? We are here at Abelingpe, one of the communities under the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, to engage residents on what they make of this by-election. Let me find out from you, Kwame. What are your expectations of the elections next week?
I thought they started fixing our light system and our roads. I thought because of the election, without that, they are not ready to fix those kind of things for us. So I don't think it's right. If they have something to do, it should start before the election. It shouldn't be because of election time, it started fixing our light and our roads. I don't think it's fair. So that is what I think. They should give us proper reason why we should vote for them. It's not about 2 days, 3 days for election. They started fixing my road and my light. It's not proper.
Okay. So, Harry, do you also share in Nana Kwame's argument that it's a way to buy your vote?
To me, no, it's no. Because last year, before the demise of Honorable Chairmantin, we had a town hall meeting over here. He promised the constituency that this year, Jolena Belengpe is going to have a massive development, but the road and the street light. Already the street light, we have some light around already, but it seems like this time, so after the death of Mr. Chairmantin, and the wife also jumping to be to stand in for the MPP.
I have Nana Yao and Nana Kwame with me here. They are also residents of Jolu. Let me first pick their thoughts. What do you make of the elections that are coming on next week?
Well, I know that the elections coming off, this is a very hot seat, especially for the MPP. Elections shouldn't be the time that you should see developmental projects and all that going on. That means that you had the funds to do this, but you were waiting to do it to buy votes. And I don't think well, I'm going to partake in the election though, but I'm not going to be swayed because of the road. I'm not going to be swayed, not from a political point of view. I'm going to do it as a citizen because it's I have the right to do so.
I'm just hoping and praying whoever wins is going to continue from where the man left off. It wouldn't be like maybe NPP was here and maybe NDC wins. So whoever comes will go like, okay, the man was doing this. I'm not going to continue from there. There should be continuation so that we are going to live in harmony.
It's our coverage of the ongoing Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. We've got Kwesi Parker Wilson and Roland Walker on the ground for us. But we also brought you back a playback of Matilda Wemage's interaction with some of the constituents, and one of the issues they raised, the fact that the by-election was coming around. This was a week ago. They saw some developmental projects in the constituency. And on the back of that, we want to have this conversation. They've seen quite some development, and we are asking the question, how by-elections facilitate development, because this is not the first time that this is happening, Kojo.
That's true, and of course, we want to see what the connection is, and whether indeed there is some space for constituents to take advantage of this. Dr. Ali Seidu joins us. He's a political scientist at the University of Ghana. Dr. Seidu, good morning.
Good.
Right, I'm hoping that line gets a bit clearer. We're glad to speak to you, but what is the connection here? It appears that in the run-up to a by-election, all of a sudden, a wish list of developmental projects start being ruled out. Talk to us about how politically development becomes a byproduct of a by-election.
So, Kojo, if you look at the whole concept of governance, it's about demand and supply. So the citizens make demand through the political system, and the political system is supposed to supply those demands. In election period, you even see political parties promising the supply that they can offer to citizens, whether they demand it or not. But sometimes the promises that they make is also, it borders on the demands that they anticipate citizens to make. In a normal governance process, there is so much competition for a lot of development with very little resources. But when it comes to a point like a by-election where government thinks a lot is at stake, they are able to free resources from other more committed areas, or they are able to get resources overnight to be able to supply the demands that the constituency will require to be able to vote for them. So sometimes it's amazing how they are able to do it overnight. They can put pressure on contractors to work in the night, to work 24/7, to be able to deliver before that particular election happens. What I think is not good for our democracy is the fact that it is the responsibility of government to supply these particular things, whether we are in an election period or not, or whether there's a by-election or not. What it says is that it kind of belittles the minds of the voter. They reduce the voter to just gullible people who may look out for this particular overnight projects that come and vote. It's just the same as giving money or a lot of materials to people to vote. If you look at the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency specifically, it's a kind of fine blend between middle class, independent, elite people. Most of the posh areas in Accra are actually located, majority of them in this particular constituency. And some of these people, if you want to do that to buy their vote, technically, they see it to be insulting. They think you view them in a perspective that is demeaning. It is your responsibility to do that. Even if you do not provide some of these things, they have the resources to be able to do that. But to wait till an election year to be able to do that doesn't speak well of the intentions of government. It means that you are just doing it to win the votes. And mind you, some of these things, those that they are not able to complete, maybe after the elections, they will even leave them, they abandon them. And that is what happens in largely developed economies, where we are still trying to perfect the art of electoral democracy. People see that voting is not just a civic right of the individual, but it is also an opportunity for the political elite to manipulate them, to be able to try and induce them in a way, whether development or resources or money, to be able to vote. And that is a sad day for our democracy.
Historically, how effective is this? I mean, do those who pump money into projects of this nature in elections, whether by-elections or otherwise, do they win, typically?
In most cases, by-elections usually favor incumbent government, because at a particular point in time, it's just one particular constituent. They deploy all the machinery of the state or of the political party to be able to win. Simple because losing a by-election suggests that the people no longer have confidence in you moving forward. So they'll do everything to attain that confidence in the voter population and to use that to actually suggest that they are doing so well and there's so much hope for them. And what happened in the by-election is just going to be what will happen in the general election. So over the years, I think most people, majority of the voter population are not moved by some of these things. They prefer them. But when you look at over the years, most research shows that most of the people usually vote because of the instantaneous benefit that they get, like handing them individually, not collective. Most people tend to vote because maybe they have been handed a 2,000 Ghana cedis or a flash screen or something. The instantaneous benefit that comes to them as an individual usually influence more than the collective developmental project. And when governments do this, they do not only construct roads, they do not only bring faster developmental projects for the collective benefit of the society. They do that alongside the individual instantaneous handouts and benefits. So largely, my assumption is that people will usually vote in a by-election this way because of the personal benefit that comes to them instantaneously, rather than the collective developmental projects that we see. But the collective developmental projects are meant to benefit the entire society, not the individual.
Dr. Seydou Alidu, we'll continue these conversations, obviously, as the day unfolds. But why don't we... actually, before you leave, Dr. Alidu, Mama V has been listening, and you have some thoughts, don't
Yes,
you?
I do. Dr. Seydou, good morning to you. So what would it mean for the NPP to retain the seats?
It means a lot for them. Because if you look at the past 2 years they've been in government, there is an indication, or as the party communication machinery has been saying, the party has done a lot of achievement within 2 years. And if you listen to some MPP people, they even think they have done a lot in 2 years, more than what the 8 years government of the NDC was able to do. So this is a kind of confidence vote on the MPP as government. So usually you always see that the referendum is actually a veiled way of measuring the performance or the success of the government of the day. Should they win, they will use that as it is going to boost their morale, and they are going to argue that Ghanaians still have confidence in it by virtue of what we have done. So 2020 is just going to be a repeat of what happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon. Should they lose, the NDC now own the bragging right, and they'll say, we told you they were not doing well. It was just mapped. There's so much hardship. There's this, there's that. What happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon is going to be a repeat of what happens in 2020. So first, it has to do with one, the MPP winning the seat will have to be a confidence vote in their performance over the first 2 years. But second, it's also going to be a huge morale tool moving into 2020. It's going to boost their confidence, and they're going to have the hope that whatever happened in this particular constituency is going to be a repeat of what will happen in 2020. So it's very crucial for them. And the third point is that they have been winning that seat since 1996. I think there was a court case, but the judgment just came, I think, 2 weeks into the end of a parliamentary session. So from 2000 moving forward, the MPP has retained that particular seat. So it will mean a lot for them to lose it this time around when they are in government. So I think it's a very tricky kind of vote system, and they have to do everything to win.
The university where you teach, that's also one of the strongholds of the NPP. But we know that students have been on vacation. We're told some of them are returning today. How important would it be? And let me just ask you, the question this way: will students show up? How confident are you that they will show up to vote?
Mama, it's a kind of difficult thing, especially for a political party that will have majority of their voters coming from the University of Ghana. Students are reporting today. And what happens is that only level 400 students now are qualified to vote. If you look at the last time that the voter registration exercise was reopened, the people who voted, most of them have completed school. So level 300, 200, 100 students are not qualified to vote. It's just 400 students. And usually the 400 students, this is their second semester. They usually say, oh, we are the seniors, so they don't even want to report early. So what will happen is that it means they may likely going to be a low voter turnout. And if you look at the margin of difference between the NDC and the MPP in the 2016 election, it was just about 10,000 votes. And if you look at the number of students Legon has been graduating every year, it's more than 10,000 students. So if you are going to look at it, I'm not assuming that all the students on Legon campus are going to vote for MPP or NDC. But the point is that if we have a low voter turnout in this particular campus, it's likely going to affect the outcome, given the fact that the margin of difference between the two dominant parties in the 2016 elections was not that much. So I think definitely most of them haven't reported. Schools are opening today, but I learned most of the political parties were able to identify some of their voter population and have moved them to campus before today. But I don't think that is still significant. So that may have a little bit of impact on turnout, but also maybe the number of difference that will define the winning candidate and then the losing candidate.
Now, Dr. Alidu, for the sort of demographic makeup of Ayawaso West Wuogon, who is likely to benefit from a low voter turnout here?
Largely, I think you can say the constituency is a stronghold for the MPP because of the way they have maintained the state since 2000, even 1996. I always think that since 2019, whichever way you want to look at it. So definitely, it's a kind of mix, a mixed blend of a elite community, but you also have a kind of middle class, but also a downtrodden kind of communities in between this middle class environment. So largely, today's a working day. A lot of people may want to go to work. A lot of them are businessmen who are running their own businesses. So sometimes there should be a compelling reason that will stop them, or that will make them go and queue the whole day and vote, and then from there they will proceed to work. So the fact that largely the constituency is made up of a lot of working class businessmen, and then today is a working day, may also affect the number of people who want to commit to queuing for maybe 2, 3, 4 hours and be able to vote, and then looking at business schedules they have already programmed for the day and all those things. So if we're going to have a low voter turnout, we are going to see that maybe it may affect the dominant party that has been winning this particular seat, and that's going to be the MPP. If we juxtapose that against maybe the NDC's assumption that it's a social democratic party and they appeal more to the grassroots poor people, those majority of those people don't usually work, and it's very easy for them to go and queue the whole day and then do some kind of voting for their political party. So if you look at it theoretically, it meant that the dominant voter population here, the kind of middle class that appeal more to the MPP, may likely be going to work or be doing something else against the kind of more downtrodden communities that will vote for the NDC. But that's just a theoretical speculation. It may happen that majority of the middle class will still leave their work and go and queue and vote for their party, and the people that we thought were not working may even be fed up and they say that we're not going to vote. So it's just a theoretical kind of postulation, but practically it may turn out different.
Now let's go into the mind of the voter for a moment. This is supposed to be a by-election to choose a member of parliament to represent them. But in their minds, is this not more of an opportunity to either endorse or criticize the current administration?
Yes, that's basically what's going to happen. It could be endorsing or opposing confidence in the candidate of the either political party as an informal way of endorsing what the party generally or broadly is doing. So voting for an MPP candidate, for example, may speak volumes of my intention of will speak volumes of the kind of confidence I have in the MPP government now. Voting against the MPP candidate may also have to do with the lack of confidence that I have in the MPP now. And they may also be protest voting. We also have people normally will protest in the way they vote. For example, if maybe I'm a member of the MPP and I've been voting the MPP, but over the years I'm not happy with some of the things they've done, or I'm not happy with the candidate that they are putting forward, there could be a protest vote. I can come and vote against my own party. or what other people may do technically is just to stay at home and don't vote. That is also another form of protest. 2, maybe the policies or the actions of the government of the day, or the kind of the character or the candidate that they have put forward for me to vote in favor. And this just a parliamentary election. If it was a general election, people could have done what we call a ticket splitting. They could have skirt and blouse. They could have voted for one candidate and then parliamentary level and vote for another candidate at the presidential level. But this one, you just have to vote for one candidate, parliamentary. So the best way to protest is either not to go and vote or go and vote against the candidate or the party that you believe strongly in. So whichever way the voters may think, the overriding thing, and in some these cases, the overriding thing will also be the kind of rational way they will behave. What have I received? What is the benefit I have gotten as an individual since this party came to government? So if I haven't benefited so much, I may decide to vote in a different way. If I think I have benefited a lot within the past 2 years, it may also influence the way I'm going to vote. But there are some people that are just indifferent. They'll just think that, oh, I don't care what happens, I'm just going to vote the party I've been voting for, or I'm not even going to vote at all. So the mind of the voter is kind of very complex mix of various variables and factors that may shape their decision to protest by not voting, or their decision to protest by voting against what they believe in, or their decision to endorse what they believe in.
We thank you very much for your analysis this morning. That's Dr. Alidu Seido. He's a political scientist with the University of Ghana, Wuogon. Where he is part of the bigger constituency that's voting today. We go back to one of our colleagues on the ground, Kwesi Parker Wilson, who is now stationed at the Jolu JHS polling station, is standing by with the PPP's candidates, William Dowoko. Over to you, Parker.
Right, thank you very much, Mavi. Just as you mentioned, I am here with the parliamentary candidate for the PPP, William Dowoko. And just a while ago, he went through the process successfully, casting his ballot. And I'm sure I wouldn't be wrong, Honorable, if I said that you voted for yourself, right?
Oh, certainly. If I voted for somebody else, that would be absurd, right, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course, definitely. Now, I mean, you went through the process. How can you describe the process?
Well, it's been smooth. There are 2 polling stations here, right. 3 of them. I went to the first one, that is Jolu Junior High A. My name was not there, so I was directed to polling station B, and my name was there. So within 2 minutes, I had finished the process.
But you didn't know where you were supposed to vote?
No, I know my polling station to be Jolu Junior High, but they have 3 booths. So I went to the first. And then I was told I needed to go to the second, and so that's how come.
That's fine. So have you been able to go through some of the polling stations, and what has been your observation so far?
Well, this is my polling station. My schedule is to come here first, cast my vote, and then I can go around and monitor others. So this is my first point of call.
But you've not gotten any feedback from your party agent on the ground?
Feedback is the same. There are no queues, at least from the 5 or so who have reported. There are no queues anywhere, so you just come and then you go through the process. And I think I should use your medium to encourage people out there who are concerned that they might stay in the queue for long. But there's no queue. Within 2 minutes, you'll be done.
Now, let's talk about your chances in this election. This is not the first time you're contesting.
Yes, certainly, yes.
So why did you stage a comeback?
Well, why not? I mean, the issues that must be resolved in the constituency are still here. Now, I have a vision that the competition has not even dreamt of. That we have the fundamentals in this constituency to make it a world-class constituency worthy of emulation by others. So we have the University of Ghana, for instance. We have Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. When it comes to shaping public policy, engagement can be strong from here. We have high net worth individuals who are finding private solutions to public problems. And they are interested in some system where they can make input so that we can all have reliability, utility and public services, those of us who live here, so that we can, enjoy. You don't need to provide private solutions to public problems. And then we have many people who have excelled in their various fields of calling, in the resident associations that are willing to engage the system. So what we need is that MP who is not only a lawmaker, but is also competent in leadership, management, administration, and coordination, who would get all these resources harnessed, working with the municipal assembly to deliver development here. I mean, at the local level, the roads are there. Of course, about 80% of them are not tarred. But
we know that, I mean, in recent days, I mean, we've seen massive developmental projects within the constituency.
It need not be so. For an enlightened community like Ayawaso West Wuogon, this is not a rural community where we neglect them, and when it's time for election, we begin to cut, double lane, roads out of bush paths, as we also in Talensi, for instance. This is an enlightened community, and as I said, government could spend a minimum in terms of money, but if you consider the sheer human capital here, I think that we are, through NDC and NPP, shortchanging the people of Ayawaso West Wuogon, and by extension, shortchanging the people of Ghana, because Ghana is already 60 years old, and we are still groping when it comes to development. So if you have all these fundamentals right in one constituency, why don't you make it the model? Are you following my
I'm following.
That it takes only leadership and coordination to harness all these vast resources to transform Ayawaso West Wuogon. So other constituencies would follow.
Well, but I've been speaking to some of the constituents, and they tell me that indeed you've reached out to them, but they have rejected you. I mean, on several occasions. What makes you think that, I mean, this time they're going to give you the nod to lead the constituency?
Well, you agree with me that we have strong parties in terms of NDC, NPP. But the individuals are no longer looking at parties. They are looking at what the MP can do, not the handouts, not the pushing of party positions, good or bad, but proper engagement. I've told you the profile of this constituency. The fact that you are MP does not mean you know it all. There are people out there who may be far better, but are just looking for avenue to make that input, and that's what I think we are lacking. And that would be proper representation if you put in place a system to engage these people, even on quarterly basis through the resident associations, for instance. So we have opportunities here that the competition has not realized. They have no clue. They're only doing the traditional NDC and NPP, and for me, it is a pity, it is a burden, and the people of Ayawaso West Wuogon that I have engaged are frustrated by that, because after speaking to them, they see the vision clearly.
I see. But I'm struggling to reconcile the two here, because we saw the rally put together by the two main political parties. I'm talking about the NPP and the NDC. So if you claim that indeed they seem not to be satisfied with their leadership, how then were they able to pull that massive crowd we saw? And so how do we reconcile what you're saying vis-a-vis what we saw on our screens?
Massive crowds. They are hired crowds. I've been working a great deal, long hours, and I should say I'm enjoying the health benefits of working. But I know
they say you don't have the financial muscle to do that, clearly.
Really?
Do you have the financial muscle to put that crowd?
Do you need that crowd?
No, you need resources to campaign.
No. Hold on. My strategy is certainly different from NDC NPP strategy. I cannot compete with NDC NPP when it comes to busing people to a venue for, but I must focus on the vision and engage the people who have the power to give me the mandate to help the constituency realize that vision. So I prefer to go to people's homes and talk to them rather than tell them to come to rally at violation, where I would spend money to bus people, of course, the many unemployed people in town. If you invite them to a meeting like a rally, where they'll have 50 cedis, you know, just for showing up and chanting your name and so on and so forth, they'll be happy to do that.
So for you, it's a rented crowd?
Oh, of course, rented. And I'm not intimidated by that at all.
You're not intimidated by that at all?
Please, you check the background of the competition. Is it Lydia Larson or Delali Brempong? Please, I mean, media should go a bit further, you know, and find out what these candidates bring to the table. All right? Because you have a role as a media. Then don't be deceived by the strength of the NDC and NPP. After all, what are they bringing to the people of Ghana? Except maintaining a status quo that is not taking us anywhere. We must get a bit, you know, inquisitive and find out. So if you ask me, I'll tell you a vision. If you ask Lydia, she's talking about, you know, continuity of something that has not worked. If you ask Delali, I don't know what he's saying, because, you know, I should be interested in what the competition is saying, but I'm not hearing anything except that they have strong party machines here and there. Please, that does not help with the transformational development of Ghana.
Right. So for you, at the end of the day, you'll be declared the parliamentary candidate in the Ayawaso West Constituency.
Absolutely.
A percentage margin?
Because it's a working day, and you know, you can tell there's no queue. So we're expecting that of the 88,000 registered voters, if we are lucky, we should have about 44,000. That's 50% turnout. And of the 50% turnout, I've been working around with my team. We are looking around 17 to 19,000, which means we'll be number one, and the NDC and the NPP will share the 25,000 or so among themselves, which will be about 12,000, you know, for them. So that is our calculation, and I'm absolutely confident that you know, the people of Ayawaso West Wuogon will make good their, you know, promise. And let me just deal with, you know, another myth around this Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency that is being described as an NPP stronghold. It is not an NPP stronghold. Look, in 1996, something untoward happened. George Isaac Amu of NPP won election here. It was ruled in favor of Rebecca Akwele Adote. George Isaac Amu fought that declaration for 4 good years. It was at the end of the 4th year that the courts determined in his favor. So out of sympathy, all of us, CPP, PPP, NPP, even NDC people, thought that we should come together to right the wrong. That's how come we gave massive endorsement to George Isaac Amu and not NPP per se. So if by some design they have money to maintain it, you cannot call it their stronghold for which nobody should come and...
And you're breaking that chain clearly.
Absolutely. I'm so confident about it.
Right. Thank you very much, William Dogpo. He is the parliamentary candidate for the PPP. So, Mamavi, just as he heard him, he's quite confident and clear in his mind that by the end of the day, the presiding officer for this by-election will declare him parliamentary member of parliament elect for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency.
Only time will tell, Parker Wilson. Kwesi Parker Wilson is on the ground for us, standing by alongside Roland Walker. They will be updating us all day today on the ongoing by-election.